interesting and a good job. Thank you very much. And good morning to our viewers, my senior colleague here, and Samson, your good self, and your team. This is quite unfortunate and most bizarre way for a young man to go down in this country. And I think that the bottom line is being convicted on his own plea.
That's right.
Bottom line. So I've heard people, when this banking sector cleanup came, the interest in the banking sector cleanup. And yesterday, 3 days ago, I've heard same people or more feeling very sympathetic to the young man, asking why is he not given time to pay. He's started paying, and that is enough sign for him to be allowed time to pay. Well, without the law, on moral grounds, anybody, or religious grounds, people are free to make such comment. But we must understand that he's been convicted on his own plea, and that's what. But my take on this matter, Samson, is quite simple. There are many more banks that went down, just like Capital Bank went down.
A total of 9 of them.
A total of 9 of them. The Ghanaian people are interested in all these 9 banks and how they've been handled by the Attorney General's Department or by the state apparatus that has investigated all these banks. And I'm happy that you've laid the facts bare, and that the actual money that was stolen, and indeed has been confirmed stolen by the gentleman, was 7.5 million. But the state has added on to come to 90 million cedis, as it were. Many people thought that he has stolen more than the 90 million, and it's been part of the media conversation since this whole matter came up. And I think that the clarity has been brought on this network, and I think that people will appreciate it from this morning's conversation. That
I deliberately started on that note because I have seen across the board in the media landscape where there's no understanding. And the figures, as I outlined, were the figures as put out by the Attorney General in the courtroom.
Yes.
To convince the judge, because the judge was not amenable to the arrest.
Yes, that part of the conversation. I know it happened recently in the U.S., where the son of the president, there's a settlement of this nature, and the judge declined the settlement, that, look, I won't accept this. So the case is being tried. And I think that in this particular matter, the judge initially did not want to accept this plea, that he should be allowed time to pay. Obviously, because of the sensitive nature of this matter. And like any other Ghanaian, we were expectant of the outcome of these investigations, because a lot has been lost to this country with respect to the banking sector cleanup, where over 29 billion cedis had been spent on the banking sector cleanup. Obviously, the pros and cons of it, we all know that we had the ailing banking sector, but for the intervention, obviously, we're going to crash. That would have been a catastrophic situation for this country. However, I think that the AG has done a very good job, and the investigators have done a very good job, having come to the numbers we are seeing today. You can see conspiracy to steal, obviously, and then you are charged for conspiracy to steal. That is a count. Stealing is a count. And money laundering. Look, money laundering is one thing we haven't really explained to the good people of this country well. But you're a lawyer, and then, like we say, aiding and abetting. I'm not sure one person can conspire to steal this huge amount of money. So people were hoping to see other people involved in this. And apart from the monies that were in the reserve to open the sovereign bank, and then the monies that were with him that were confiscated, to come to 102.2 million. What about assets? Couldn't the bank have taken the state have taken possession of his assets and then dispose them off to defray part of the debt? Because now he's going to prison.
It's a civil suit.
It's a civil suit.
It's a civil suit.
That would be another.
That's being pursued by the receiver.
Right. So, Samson today is going to prison for 15 years. How are you going to recover the rest of the money? It is not in anybody's interest to put him in prison, continue to feed him. If the civil suit can bring about the rest of the money, that is good news for this country. What the ordinary person on the street is interested in, recover the money and punish. As of punishment, nobody is against the punishment. He's a gentleman, nice guy, I feel for him, but he's been convicted on his own plea. And I'm interested in the rest of the 8 cases, how it's going to end.
Right.
Then there's issue of the board, the governing board of the banks. I'll have to go back and read more of the investigations into this matter. It brings to question the corporate governance structure or the culture of corporate governance in this country.
And particularly on social media. And beyond social media, they talk about the fact that for UT, for this particular bank, Capital Bank, Dr. Mensah Otabil should also have been part of the
I'm not only looking at him alone, but the culture of corporate governance, the level of culpability in this country. I'm not too sure that 100 million cedis could be taken from the vote of a bank without the scrutiny of a board. I'm a board chairman today. It frightens me that there's no way the culture of corporate governance, if it's being pursued well, that I sit as a board chairman and whooping amount of 100 million and more could be disbursed from the bank without approval. And how was it reported? Who gave the approval? I'm not sure the gentleman went into the vote and picked 100 million and more.
The court found that there was about 2 or 3 companies accounts that were opened, including one Maripoma and so on. And the court found that they were deliberately opened so that the monies would be transferred into those accounts to be used to set up the sovereign bank.
No, so it's a board decision.
So you had 60 something million being pushed into each account.
However, look, even to assess a 1 million CD loan from the bank, it goes to the board. There's a threshold for the MD. And it's a standard practice. When I was a CEO, in procurement, I have a threshold of 100,000. Beyond that, you go through tender. At the board meeting, there are things that the MD cannot do. It has to go through the board for approval. These are things that should be investigated. And I don't want to say because it's Mensah Otabil. We are looking at the corporate governance structure. It has been brought to question. And we should even extend the conversation to that extent. Otherwise, how could an MD, how was the bank even open, for what purpose? Who gave the approval for the bank to be opened, the sovereign bank, intended sovereign bank to be opened? Who are the directors of that bank? If the money gets into it, intended bank to be opened. So who are the supervisors of that account? Is he a sole signatory to that account? How could he have accessed monies from an account that is intended to open a sovereign bank? I mean, these are legitimate questions that we need to ask. It is not enough that the monies has been recovered, but there are more work to be done. There's so much work to be done on this particular investigation. Yes, I'm happy that the monies have been, about 32 million more has been recovered from him. 37 million cedis more. So he's left with about roughly 53 million to be paid. So somebody asked, assuming the family is able to put up this money and go to the bank, what will be his fate? Is he going to be released from prison, or he will continue to serve on his own plea? So I think that, for me, there are more questions to be answered.
The Deputy Attorney General has been saying,
yes,
and I share that view though, that once the court has given its judgment, convicted and passed the sentence. In fact, he was convicted in December. Let's not forget that. He was convicted. It was sentence that was suspended pending payment of the 90 million, failure to do which he was to be sentenced accordingly. The Deputy Attorney General has been saying that once the court is finished with its job, it's done. But if he is able, within this, any time from now, to pay the remainder of the money, then he can go on appeal.
Okay.
He can file an appeal and ask for the sentence to be reduced.
Interesting.
Yeah, but he's happy that they've gotten this. And in the history of this country, criminal prosecution, this appears to be
a huge
like
success.
The first. You don't have anything like this done before.
So I think it's also part of the reason why many people are not cautious when it comes to criminal prosecutions. Because all the criminal prosecutions we've had in this country, it ends up nothing. Sometimes you get some few years in jail and that's it. But the booty itself had never been attached as it is. And I think that has been a huge success. That's why we celebrate this case from the AG's point of view. However, some of us are interested in the culture of corporate governance, how it assisted in this conspiracy and all that. Because when you talk of conspiracy, one man cannot conspire with himself. There could be multiple factors that comes together to make it complete. And that's where I'm particularly interested. And we are following keenly with the rest of the banks that have been closed down. Until that, the public confidence has to be heightened by way of how we do our things. And investigations, I believe that is public. It should be made public for everybody, the details of it. I mean, the fact that you recover the money does not mean that everything is sacrosanct. We still have to ask more legitimate questions. But until then, for what they have done, the success in this case is it's a yeoman's job.
The AG said they really wish that they had gotten all the money because that was their interest.
Yes, certainly.
And that they've gotten 37, the rest could be
they are close to recover the exact amount.
Yes, the rest could be lost to them.
Yeah.
But something came up in the court. The court said after the length of time allowed to Essien to make the payment, the court said, as a matter of fact, a very material allegation made by Essien against the imposition of custodial sentence was a claim that an agreement had been reached between Essien Swiss Limited and a company known as Panarico Limited, for which Essien Swiss was entitled to periodic payments for the sale of its assets, or which same was to be relied upon to make payments to the state. Unfortunately, this entity, where he was getting money to help make the payment,
you have to investigate,
had also been sued.
By the receiver.
And some people were levying judgments on that entity. So the court said, from the way it looks, he has lost opportunity of that money that was going to be coming in. So he's not going to get that money. So even the lawyers were asking for 6 more months. And say, if we give you the 6 more months, the source of money that you are going to get to pay is no more there.
It has to be reasonable.
So what are you going to do? Then there was this other part that the court said he indeed made an offer of giving his water treatment plant located at Pram Pram, which is valued at $10 million US.
How?
Enough to offset the outstanding amount of 53 million Ghana cedis together with the judgment debt that has been procured by one other company.
Something.
Now, this were his lawyers telling the court.
Who valued
Some people are saying that if this opportunity was there, that he has a property that, even if it's not $10 million, supposing it's something close to, it's $5 million. If you give him time, maybe he could pay. Why didn't they wait rather than get him in jail and lose the opportunity?
Something. The court will look at the reasonable grounds or possibility. I know that property very well in Pram Pram. Obviously, yes, it worth not more than $2 million.
Oh, really?
Of course.
You can't say that. This must be a proper valuation done.
I wonder who did the valuation.
But you can't use your eyes to just...
Seriously speak, it's a water treatment plant. I don't know what kind of equipment in there. The size of the warehouse and the office in front of it. Obviously, cannot worth $10 million. That notwithstanding, for me, I'm also interested to know, the AG should help us to know how much it costs to do this prosecution. It will really help Ghanaians so that we weigh the cost of doing this prosecution as against what the state is getting. We should be interested in this, and in other jurisdictions, they put out the cost, the detailed cost of prosecution in these matters.
I'm sure they factored that in. That's why they got an extra.
Yeah, but they should be able to tell us. So now that we are not getting the entire money, as it were, obviously the state is losing a lot of money. So preventive aspect of this.
The state will not have spent $5 million doing this.
Well, you can't tell that. Well, you're a lawyer though, but
you can't spend. You spend $5 million.
You too, you are not.
But they
haven't been able
got
to
so much in extra. Excess.
You may not. You can't say that for a fact. So the state, we are interested. The state should be able to tell us, and periodically they should be able to tell the good people of this country how much it costs to be able to do all these things, so that we strike the balance. But I think that, unfortunate as it is, I think that the right thing has been done. It's a big lesson to all of us. And like I said earlier on, members who serve on various boards of financial institutions or otherwise, the temptations are quite high, but we should be guided by the principles and the legal remit within which we work. Other than that, we'll find ourselves. I mean, if all other 8 cases are being prosecuted and we get to the final conclusion, obviously some people will be able to have the financial muscles to pay. So they should soldier on and make sure we recover all monies to the state.
All right.
That's the huge lesson. I remember when this matter came, People were like, oh, he's been persecuted, he's a young man, he's opening opportunities.
People said that?
Yes, of course. I mean, in the media space, that this is a young man who is creating job opportunities for young people and all that. They've said all that. But today, the bottom line, the gentleman has been convicted on his own plea.
That's right.
Settles the matter.
Right.